until and unless the statutes are changed to allow the U.S. Mint to purchase physical silver at prices above the paper market spot prices, it will have continuing difficulty in acquiring sufficient metal to meet public demand. Other private and government minting operations are able to acquire silver at prices above the commodity market spot prices, and they are doing so. Therefore, they are more likely to obtain the silver they need because they are paying higher prices than the limit imposed on what the U.S. Mint can pay. The U.S. Mint's problem of obtaining sufficient silver to meet public demand could be cured by changing the law to give the Mint greater price flexibility. I doubt that would ever even be considered. The federal government has a strong interest in holding down silver and gold prices as a major tactic to minimize the interest rate it pays on its own $30 trillion of debt. This concern would almost certainly override any consideration of allowing the U.S. Mint the flexibility to acquire sufficient silver. So, as long as the market price for physical silver remains consistently higher than the paper commodity contract price, the U.S. Mint is going to continue experiencing difficulty in obtaining sufficient silver. Hey, what's up, Silver Stackers? Thank you so much for being here. This is Silver Slayer. I hope you find this video informational, educational, or at least entertaining. I think this is going to be a really good video I put together for you guys and gals regarding the U.S. Mint going up against Congress via the silver shortage. Now, I don't think this situation is going to get better anytime soon and only get worse. And as Patrick Heller said in this statement down here, so as long the market price for physical silver remains consistently higher than the paper commodity contract price, the U.S. Mint is going to continue experiencing difficulty in obtaining sufficient silver. And by the way, Patrick Heller, probably one of the most respected and legitimate people to write an article like this. He was honored as a 2019 Fun Numismatic Ambassador. He's also the recipient of the American Numismatic Association 2018 Glenn Smedley Memorial Service Award, 2017 Exemplary Service Award, 2012 Harry Foreman National Dealer of the Year Award, and 2008 Presidential Award. Over the years, he's also been honored by the Numismatic Literary Guild, including twice in 2020, Professional Numismatist Guild, Industry Council for Tangible Asset, and the Michigan State Numismatic Society. He is the Communications Officer of Liberty Coin Service in Lansing, Michigan, and writes Liberty's Outlook, a monthly newsletter on rare coins and precious metal subjects. And check this out. This was right after the U.S. Mint did admit and acknowledge the silver shortage the first time in 2021, and he wanted to let everyone know what's really going on. The other article we just covered was talking about the Morgan and silver peace dollar situation, which led into the legal stuff, the legal battle against Congress, which we will go over, but I wanted to share this just to let you guys know how reputable this guy really is. Check this out. He says at some point, the U.S. Mint stopped acquiring physical silver to prepare for their own Eagle dollar planchets. Instead, it went outside planchet suppliers such as Sunshine Mint, Leech and Garner Perth Mint, and possibly even the Royal Canadian Mint. And actually, believe it or not, the U.S. Mint gets most of its silver from Sunshine Mint. And he goes, after this happened, I had a chance to talk with one of the U.S. Mint directors at the time. He asked, why was the Mint outsourcing its production of Silver Eagle planchets? He said the variability in demand from year to year where during his term as U.S. Mint Director from 2006 to 2011, the uncirculated Silver Eagle mintages range from 9 million in 2007 to 40 million in 2011. It made it difficult to maintain equipment and personnel for high production years, but also to enable the mint to trim low costs and low mintage numbers. The mint does not experience such wild swings in public demand for coins struck for circulation purpose or for the numismatic market. In order to economically smooth out mint operations, it would have to have the limit maximum number of Silver Eagle dollars it struck each year, contrary to the U.S. law that specified that the mint strikes sufficient coins to meet public demand. So the solution to this dilemma was to outsource planchet production. Thus, the capital, personnel, and overhead costs and logistics were someone else's problem. See, this is the big situation, because the U.S. Mint could outsource, and they do from Sunshine Mint, but these other mints are making a killing from selling to the U.S. Mint, so they have, and plus they have to fill their own production, right? They have their own demand. And that's kind of what this next part goes into. These planchet manufacturers signed long-term contracts to supply the U.S. Mint a specified number of blanks with some wiggle room for times of lower and higher public demand. The problem with this outsourcing arrangement is that the suppliers to the U.S. Mint also created bullion products sold in competition to the Mint. In times when the U.S. Mint experienced high demand for Silver Eagle dollars, the planchet suppliers were also enjoying their higher demand for the coins and ingots that they produced for the public. These suppliers enjoyed higher profit margins when selling their own coins and ingots to the market than the margins they made when selling to the U.S. Mint. Because remember, the U.S. Mint can only pay spot. They cannot pay anything above the LBMA's price, or the London Bullion Market Exchange Association's prices. It legally can't, while other mints can. These suppliers could purchase commodity contracts to take delivery of physical silver at the spot price, but in times of high demand, the silver source would not provide adequate silver suppliers or supplies to fill demand for both their own products and to supply the U.S. Mint. These suppliers were not restricted by law, as is the U.S. Mint. See, that's what I'm saying. The private mints and even other government-backed mints don't have these same laws and regulations. It's only the U.S. Mint. And that's these laws to purchase silver only on the basis of commodity market spot prices. Consequently, they can offer to pay prices above spot to acquire silver for their own product line. So why would they sell to the U.S. Mint at a much lower price and pass along these higher prices when they sell these coins and ingots? But as long as they absorb the physical silver available on the market at prices above spot, that leaves less metal available at spot price to fulfill the U.S. Mint's contracts. So they would almost only do this as a good favor to help the U.S. Mint out with silver. Now do you guys realize why I think that Silver Eagle's premiums are completely a different situation than normal premiums going up, maybe from the silver shortage or just high demand? It's looking like Eagles are in a completely different mess. And I don't think these types of premiums will ever go down, especially since the U.S. Mint isn't making any money from this because they have to buy the silver at spot price. And the only way to make that money back would be selling it at extremely high prices, since they don't have that much. I mean, they had to put a mintage cap on the Type 1 and Type 2 Eagles last year. They had to put a small mintage cap on them, which means that's a lot of silver they missed out on selling. 2020, they ran out of silver. 2022, mintage cap. I mean, I can't imagine next year what the numbers would look like. They had to cancel the production of the 2022 Morgan and silver piece dollars. Just downright canceled them. They're going to wait till next year, and let's see. I doubt they'll even come out next year, because the reason they canceled those coins was so they could focus on getting more silver, that people want, not just, a kind of a branch off thing they're trying to bring back. So this is why I tell people, do the research. Don't just speculate. Don't just assume you know what's happening behind the scenes. Actually look into it. right? A lot of people that are talking about American Silver Eagles premiums are this and that, and they're going to go back down. They have no clue what they're talking about. They don't know that any of this stuff behind the scenes is going on. So when I say this stuff, I have actual reason to say it, or I wouldn't say it at all, right? I wouldn't say anything about what Eagles are going to do in terms of premiums rising or falling unless I had a reason to say that, not just guessing and acting as if it's true, especially trying to tell someone else they're wrong when that person actually does the research. So let's look at this. This is the legal side of things, right? This is the meat and potatoes, because this actually shows all of the stuff they were just talking about, the laws that the US Mint, the regulations they have to go by that other mints don't have to, right? So let's do this. Again, the US Mint is being blamed for not providing as many coins in qualities and quantities that the Secretary determines are sufficient to meet public demand. And that's text from 31 code or US code 5112E. Now, as I discussed, and by the way, you see how it started off with, again, the US Mints being blamed. And now it says, as I discussed in my March 18th, 2021 column, and by the way, this is also from Patrick Heller. This guy, man, this is the same article. The other article was also written by Patrick Heller. See, this guy, I want to look more into other articles that he posts. I think they even said he has like an audio thing you can check out as well. Yeah, it's over here. I just want to make sure, because I'm going to, streams lives become part of the audio archives. Okay, I'm going to check out this guy because obviously he knows what he's talking about to the finest degree. And I think it's really important that this information gets out there. And if I could use my platform to give him a voice, I'm going to do that. But anyways, let's keep moving on. So, like they said, the mint's being blamed for not providing as many coins. And I think this all started in 2020 when the US Mint ran out of silver, had to make the 1 million mintage emergency supply from the San Francisco Mint at the end of the year. So, March 18th, in his 2021 column, the US Mint has greater difficulty procuring sufficient silver supplies to meet public demand because it is constrained in how much it can pay for the physical silver. To acquire silver to strike Silver Eagles, 31 U.S. Code 5112F1 requires that the Secretary shall sell the coins minted under subsection E, Silver Eagles, to the public at a price equal to the market value of the bullion at the time of the sale, plus costs of minting, marketing, and distributing such coins, including labor, materials, dyes, use of machinery, promotional, and overhead expenses. It's just so weird why the US Mint has to buy it at spot price and can't go above spot if that's the only way they can get more silver. To repeat from my column last March, other statutes prohibit the US Mint from offering to pay higher prices than established by the paper market spot price. They can't even offer it. They can't go, hey, Sunshine Mint, we get a lot of our silver from you. And I know that you're able to sell this silver at a lot higher of a price, and could we? They can't even offer a higher price. They have to say, hey, we'll buy it off you at this price. But Sunshine Mint's like, why would I do that? I'm making so much more money selling our own silver, especially with demand higher. 31 U.S. Code 5116A3 states in part the Secretary shall pay not more than the average world price for gold. 31 U.S. Code 5116B2 states in part the Secretary shall not pay more than the average world price for silver under any circumstances. As used in this paragraph, the term average world price means the price determined by a widely recognized commodity exchange at the time the silver is obtained by the Secretary. The widely recognized commodity exchange spot price the U.S. Mint uses to purchase and sell silver and gold is the LBMA, or the London Bullion Market Association, like I mentioned earlier. Effectively, the U.S. Mint is prevented from complying with one statutory requirement to produce silver American Eagles sufficient to meet public demand by another statutory requirement that prohibits it from paying a price higher than the paper market spot price. So until and unless these statutes are changed, the U.S. Mint's going to continue having difficulty in acquiring sufficient metal to meet public demand, like I mentioned earlier. Now, I want to go back because we just talked about all the all the things that they have to go by, all the laws that they have that other mints don't have. But up here, it was pretty interesting. I think it was pretty interesting that where he mentions that he might even that the U.S. Mint might even be going through where's it at? I think it's yeah, even the Royal Canadian Mint. It's like they're reaching out to everyone, and that makes sense. It makes sense, but all of these places, the Perth Mint and the Royal Canadian Mint, had record-breaking sales at the beginning of the year. Record-breaking sales at the beginning of the year. But in my last video, the U.S. Mint has a 69% decrease in demand year over year from last June. So are people starting to turn their heads away and start to turn their back from Eagles because of these crazy high premiums? That was my theory about a couple months ago. I said, you know what? I'm not buying Eagles. I doubt you are. So I'm curious, as 5 million Eagles were bought the first month of January, if that number is going to be even somewhat close next year, as people realize these extremely overpriced, standard, boring coins aren't worth it. So anyways, let's keep moving on. Now, I want to go down here. Okay, so this is another problem they have. Therefore, the U.S. Mint runs the risk of only receiving the minimum amount of silver eagle dollar planchets from these suppliers as specified in the purchase contracts. Unfortunately, now the Mint does not have the equipment or personnel to again resume acquiring their own silver and once more creating their own planchets in large quantities, which that's even a worse problem, because even if they could get enough silver, they don't have the equipment or personnel, so they are a dog backed in a corner. Do you see why this situation only looks like it's going to keep getting worse, especially if demand picks up as silver becomes more popular, or if the price starts rising and everyone's trying to get a slice of the silver pie? I mean, I can't imagine what the situation is for them behind the scenes, because I'm sure it's even worse than this, right? This is just one guy stating what he knows, but there's always more to it. And this situation is looking like anything more to this is not good news, though. So here's another thing, right? The U.S. Mint, they used to sell 30, 40 million ounces per year of Eagles, right? 30, 40 million. Like, we're talking about like 2015, 2016, 30, 40 million annually. Until 2019, went down to 13 million out of nowhere. Remember, the U.S. Mint guesstimates the following year. They have to say, okay, in 2023, we think we might sell 15 million Eagles, so they'll mint 15 million. Or if they think they're going to sell 30 million, they'll mint 30 million. Well, obviously in 2020, they had no idea a global situation was going to happen, and that's why they ran out of silver, because they undermined it. They guessed way too low. That's why they had to make that emergency 1 million mintage supply from the San Francisco Mint. But with these weird numbers nowadays of 5 million the first month of January, but all of a sudden, June, we're talking about a 69% decrease in sales from last year. There's such wild numbers. How could they guesstimate next year what things are going to look like? And not only that, if they are guesstimating that these numbers are higher, if they can't fill that order because they can't find enough silver, what are they going to do? They're going to have to put a mintage cap on on these coins like they did for the 2021 Type 1, Type 2 Eagles, but they're also probably going to have to cancel the Morgan and silver peace dollars again. Do you see how complex and how deep this situation really is? Do you guys now realize why, when people try to say anything about American Eagles, I'm trying to tell them, hey, there's a lot more to the story than premiums up just because Wall Street silver. You know, they blamed American Eagles premiums on the silver squeeze. This is much, much, much deeper than the silver squeeze by miles. And it's much deeper than just demand rising by miles. I mean, they have laws that they literally cannot pay above spot price, while other mints and private mints can. That's why I always say, do your homework, right? Do your homework, and if you are going to do your homework, at least make sure the answer is correct. So anyways, he keeps on saying, as I understand it, the mint has been able to negotiate some increase in silver equal dollar planchet supplies on the basis of being a major long-time customer of these suppliers. Well, that's good. However, here we go. These suppliers also have huge profit incentives to provide the U.S. Mint the minimum number of planchets, which makes sense, right? The less they have to sell the U.S. Mint, the more they can sell from their own batch at a higher price. In addition to there being difficulties of the U.S. Mint obtaining sufficient silver eagle dollar planchets from their suppliers, there's also the difficulty of actually obtaining physical silver upon maturity of the commodity contracts. Man, oh man, this is bad. The New York COMEX allows mature contracts called for delivery of the underlying physical commodity to be settled by one of four different options. 1, delivery of the physical commodity. 2, cash payment instead of commodity. 3, shares of an exchange-traded fund or ETF for the equivalent quantity of the commodity. Or 4, exchange for the physical. Exchange for the physical means that the party requesting delivery of the commodity instead receives some cash plus a contract for the same number of ounces of the commodity in the London market. The last of these used to be considered an only option to be used in an emergency since it was the most expensive way to settle a contract. However, it appears that most settlements on the silver market over the past several years have been by exchange for physical. In other words, those hoping to obtain physical silver at spot by purchasing a commodity contract and holding it into maturity either will never get the physical metal or only receive it much longer in the future than the maturity date of the original contract. It is also possible that a commodity market could get so out of order with insufficient metal to deliver against demands for physical delivery, as demonstrated by the nickel commodity market over the past few weeks, the entire commodity exchange for that commodity could freeze or collapse. Wow, what he just said there should be a separate video within itself. He's saying that these people that are trying to ask for physical delivery on the COMEX after the maturity date won't even get it. They might not get it, or if they do get it, it's going to take forever. And that's because people are going to try to pay the spot price on the COMEX, don't have to pay for the premium buying it physical. So, but they could still buy it online and then turn it in for physical to try to only pay spot. See what I'm saying? It's like it's a little shortcut. But he's saying that that might never happen. They might never get the physical metal or only receive it much longer in the future. And then I even made a video about this probably a year ago that someone tried to turn their silver in for physical delivery and they got denied. They got denied. And I could see that happening because all the silver on the COMEX, there's not that much silver, actual silver out there. There isn't. And if everyone on the COMEX tried to turn in their quote unquote silver they own, which they don't, that would expose the lack of silver, supply deficit. And that's also why silver stackers say for every ounce of silver you hold in your own hand, theoretically 100 other people own that same ounce on the COMEX, but those people don't actually own it. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. But anyways, with the information in last week's column and provided here, you now have a better understanding of the difficulty for the U.S. Mint to acquire sufficient silver to meet demand for its products. Patrick A. Heller. Man, this guy, I love him. I mean, he's so, I can't even explain it. All I know is I'm about to, after I post this video, dig more into everything he's posted, other the audio files, and I'm gonna even try to reach out to him because I'm curious what he thinks about Silver Eagle premiums and where they're gonna go. So if you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And I didn't ask you to subscribe in the beginning of the video because I didn't offer you any subject yet. I haven't gave you any content. So I'm not going to just ask you to write a blank check and just hope that you like my stuff. But by now, if you've watched this video and you think it's worthy of a subscription, since I've actually offered you a gooder service now and you think that it's worthy and you would like to see more of this content, I post a lot of other diverse stuff as well, then please subscribe. I do lots of giveaways and lots of other stuff as well. I want to take a second to give a shout out to my channel sponsor, bullionmax.com. I'm honored to be working with one of the best bullion dealers online. Great prices, great deals, and by far the best packaging out of any company that I've ever seen. They even offer a silver starter kit, which is 5 ounces of silver at below employee pricing with extremely high premium coins for a great deal. It's only one per household, but a great way to lower your dollar per ounce average a bit and get a chance to grab some great coins. So shout out to Bullion Max, such a great company, always sending me silver to give away to my subscribers as well. bullionmax.com, and if you want the starter kit, go to bullionmax.com/silverslayer. And also make sure to go to ag47apparel.com if you want to express your love for precious metals with the clothes on your back. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.